Some stories don't begin with a crime, they begin with a pattern of fear, a pattern of control, a pattern that leaves a paper trail long before the headlines arrive. This is the story of Mica Miller and the federal case that would follow her passing. Okay? Um, if this is your first time here, please do well to like, share, and subscribe. You're welcome to Stand in Your Power, and my name is Femi. Thank you once again for being here. To all existing subscribers, I want to say a very big thank you. And for those people who are just joining my channel for the first time, thank you for being here. Let's get into it. Mica, okay, let me start again. Mica Miller was a 30-year-old woman. She lived in Myrtle Beach area of South Carolina and was involved in church life and ministry. She was married to John Paul J.P. Miller, who happened to be a pastor. By public account, the marriage was already unraveling long before 2024. Okay. And what followed would not play out quietly. A lot of things happened. And in January 2023, police reports later cited by the media indicate Mica told authorities that she and JP Miller had separated. By October 2023, divorce filings appeared in court records, but divorce was only part of Mica's story. Over the months that followed, Mica was reported, she had reported all sorts. She made repeated contact with the law enforcement. She reported fear. She reported surveillance and interference with her life. Literally, she was being stalked by this man. Each report that she made added a page to a growing record. And it was quite a lot. I covered this story while it was happening. And I went down the rabbit hole for this case. February 2024 actually marked a turning point in this whole situation. Mica was involuntarily hospitalized for 48 hours and later released. Afterwards, she reported that her belongings and vehicle were missing. Police treated the vehicle as a marital property at the time. Days later, this woman reported something more disturbing. She told police that she believed the commitment had been fraudulently initiated. She alleged long-term control. She alleged grooming. Her husband, the pastor, J.P. Miller, denied every form of wrongdoing and offered a very, very different account. Then, fast forward to March 2024, the situation escalated again. What then happened at this point? Mica reported finding a piece of metal lodged in her tire, later described as a tire deflation device that was sold online. The same day, mechanics reportedly discovered a tracking device that was attached to her car. This woman sought a restraining order. She went ahead telling authorities that she feared for her life. A bench trial date was scheduled, and none of these allegations resulted in criminal charges at the time. But the documentation still remained. Now let's fast forward to the final weekend. On April 27, 2024, Mica Miller left her home. Investigators later reconstructed her movement using surveillance footage, receipts, timestamps, and everything. She entered a pawn shop and purchased a firearm and ammunition. Okay? She was seen at the gas station. She stopped for gas and refreshment. Later that afternoon, a 911 call was placed. According to the investigators, Mica asked if her phone could be tracked. Then she made a suicidal statement before disconnecting. All of those we looked into. Some people said the the call was AI. You know, we all believed all sorts because it was too gory to be true. After that, a search followed. Okay, and her vehicle was found at Lumber River State Park in North Carolina. Evidence inside the car included the firearm case, the ammunition, and receipt that she got from earlier that day, from buying snacks, from buying gas, and all of those. The firearm was later recovered from the water. The serial numbers matched with the one that she purchased earlier. So what are the official findings? After reviewing the evidence, North Carolina investigators ruled Mica's passing as self-inflicted. There was no homicide charges. That ruling has not changed even till today. But the story did not end there, okay? A lot of things happened after then. The question many people asked was, how did Mica really pass? It was what she lived with before she did that got people questioning, okay? A lot of people said it could have been that she was forced to do it by herself. She recounted that, you know, there was a lot of recount of her living through DV. It was what she lived before she died that got a lot of people talking. Okay? Because federal law recognizes something specific. They recognized a course of conduct, a pattern of harassment, a pattern that can exist even when the person is ruled as self-inflicted. Fast forward to today, okay? Okay, let me go back a little bit. In May 2024, the Robinson County Sheriff Office requested assistance from the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Now, the investigation shifted focus, not to homicide, but to conduct, to someone's conduct. Okay, what happened over time? That's where the investigation shifted to. They are now looking at what was documented. They are now looking at what could be proven. Okay, and then in December 2023, okay, before I get into December 2023, there was a lot of protests. People were protesting in front of the church saying, hey, justice for Mica. We want justice for Mica, because there was so much evidence that was leading, or let me say, there was so much that left the public wondering, everybody was thinking this pastor did this. Even if he did not do it, he did something to this woman. He did a lot of things to this woman that led her to what she, in quote, did to herself. Okay, so there was a lot going on. But fast forward to December 2025, a federal grand jury returned an indictment against John Paul Miller. In 2024, we recall that there was a search. The FBI searched his house. They were looking for evidence. I wonder what they were looking for. But then fast forward to today, we are seeing an indictment, okay, against John Paul Miller. And as at yesterday, the news carried it that he was charged with cyberstalking. He was charged with making false statement to federal investigators. And you recall there was a lot of questioning interviews that he granted where he lied under his state, where he said a lot of things. So yeah, as we speak, this man has been indicted. Prosecutors allege that between November 2022 and April 27, 2024, Miller engaged in a sustained pattern of harassing this woman. I am happy today that something is happening. I am happy that we are seeing some form of justice. Now, the pattern that the investigators found out allegedly included repeated unwanted communication after this woman has said, oh, I want a restriction order against him. Another pattern is non-consensual posting of intimate image. This pastor went as far as posting his ex-wife's nude on Facebook. So investigators are looking at these patterns. They are also looking at the pattern of him tracking Mica's movement, the pattern of him damaging her vehicle, interfering with her finances and her daily life. So they are looking at these patterns, and investigators alleged that he lied during federal interviews about all of these actions. Now, these are allegations. They have not yet been adjudicated in the court of law. Okay? So, the case, as of now, is not a homicide persecution. It does not reverse the ruling on Mica Miller's passing. What it does examine is whether harassment, surveillance, and coercive control crossed the line into federal crimes, which indeed it did. They are also looking at whether those actions mattered in the scheme of things. For me, yes, those actions really did matter. So the case matters because it highlights something many people miss. Abuse does not always look like violence. Control does not always leave bruises. Fear often lives in documentation long before it reaches court. And this is what Mica did. Mica Miller left a record, and years later, the records have become evidence that can be used for indictment today. John Paul Miller has pleaded not guilty. He is scheduled to appear in the federal court, I think sometime in January. This legal process will determine guilt or innocence. I am happy that we have gotten to this point in the case of Mica Miller. But Mica's story already tells us something important. It tells us that patterns matter, documentations matter, and silence is never, ever neutral. Okay? We need to continue to use our voice. Patterns matter. Document whatever it is that you're going through. If you have to do a voice recording, please do it. If you have to make reports, in the police station or whatever, please do it. If you or someone you know is experiencing harassment or coercive control, I need you to understand that help is available. Thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section.